Also in DPIN news this week, we have a tweet from Meson Network. We love Meson. They essentially have built a decentralized CDN network. A CDN network is what all content distributors need. I think it's called a content distribution network, because that's how we're able to stream television, for example. So decentralizing that, creating a decentralized bandwidth exchange is just like an incredibly important piece of the infrastructure stack. It can work alongside something like IPFS or Arweave as a sort of accelerator layer, where if you have the file storage, but the latency involved in getting it to you, or just the retrieval time, all of that could be really slow. And so something like Meson is the answer to get that to you in a way that would be more like a Web2 experience. They recently announced that they were part of a incubation program with Sony and I don't know how you say this company's name, A-Star?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So what's cool about this is that I remember when this incubation program was announced back in February, I think we might have covered it. And really the thing here is just that it's exciting to see companies like Sony getting involved in this space, you know, because Sony in particular being kind of at the lower end of the content distributors. I don't know how to articulate that.
Studio?
Smallest studio, yeah. I guess that's the
Well,
easiest
I don't
way
know
to
if they're
say
the
it.
smallest, but of the big ones, they probably are for sure.
Yeah. So they have the most to gain, and something like Web3 infrastructure, or not something like it, Web3 infrastructure could give them the competitive advantage to shoot to the top of that list. So that could be really interesting to see as they start to explore these technologies.
Yeah, and they do. So, I mean, Sony's perfect. We have a relationship with someone at Sony, and so we've kind of really liked the idea of them getting involved in this. So it was really exciting to see them really embracing Web3. They've got a working group within the company itself, and they've got this incubation program. They're kind of perfect because they have the full stack. Like you said, they're a studio.
That's a good point.
That has a bunch of IP, and you know, the recent animated Spider-Man movie was theirs. They've got a handful of really great properties that do decently well as far as theatrical. They also have a streaming service, Crackle. They also, I think they still make computers. They might not anymore. I think they might have sold that business unit, but they make cameras. They make kind of everything involved in the entire stack.
I don't know if you would count this as a computer, but they obviously are making gaming consoles.
Exactly, I do. Exactly, I forgot about it. Yeah, totally. Like the PlayStation itself, oftentimes gaming consoles have some of the most powerful GPUs. They don't need much else other than that. They need a hard drive, a disk drive, and a powerful GPU. And unless you're a hardcore gamer, which the majority of the owners of these pieces of hardware are not. In fact, I remember the PlayStation 3, a lot of people bought them specifically because it was the lowest cost Blu-ray player. And so they weren't even gamers, they just really wanted to watch HD movies. But so a whole lot of people that own this hardware, it just sits on their shelf for a lot of the day. And so, again, this ties back into a cache. One of the awesome things you could potentially do with that is instead of it just sitting on your shelf doing nothing, it could in fact participate in, say, a rendering network or even a training network or just some other way that could collectively use the resources that are sitting there and pay you for it.
Right. So it's going to pay you for it, and it's also, I guess you could call it greener because it's using resources that already exist rather than creating new ones. So it's going to just be better, faster, cheaper across the board.
When you put a whole bunch of hardware into one space, the heat builds upon itself, and so you have to spend a lot of energy cooling it. You don't have to get a dedicated fan to set next to your PlayStation. It's got one built in, and that's enough. And so it reduces it simply by spreading it out. You spend less energy running the same amount of compute. Very, very cool. So I love that Sony's getting involved. Meson is a really great offering, so I'm stoked. You know, congratulations to them. And we really want to see other companies as well, but, you know, Sony to just take more and more steps and just kind of see how deep this rabbit hole goes.